Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's play-by-play. My name is Sarah Bruce. I'm a National Park Service Ranger at Katmai National Park, and we're here today to talk all about bears. To introduce my co-hosts, I've got Christine Loberg, also a park ranger with me. Christine, how are you?
I'm doing dandy fine. This is a great day today. Thanks,
Yeah, it looks
Sarah.
like good weather over there.
Oh,
Ashley,
it's
how are you?
beautiful.
I'm doing well. Happy to be here and talk about bears as always. It's a beautiful day in Katmai.
Yeah, it's exciting that we actually have some of the bears on camera right now. For those of you who are just joining the Bear Cam community, or maybe you've been here for a while, just wanted to give you a kind of tour of where Katmai is and what kind of cameras we've got out on the river. So if you aren't familiar with Brooks River and its location, we are heading to Katmai National Park in Alaska, which is the fourth largest national park in the United States, and it's only accessible by plane or boat. Brooks River is located in the west central portion of Katmai. The river is about 1.5 miles long, and it flows from Lake Brooks, which you can see at the lower left, to Naknek Lake in the upper right corner of this photo. Um, Brooks River is located again in the west central portion of Katmai, and Brooks Falls is located at about the halfway point on the river. Explore.org and the National Park Service work together to bring you these cameras, and Explore.org hosts and maintains several of the webcams at the river. The signal from the bear cam is either transmitted directly to a satellite internet connection or relayed to a radio repeater on Dumpling Mountain, which then sends the signal to the small town of King Salmon about 30 miles away. So Ashley and Christine are in Brooks Camp, and I am in King Salmon. We can look again at the Brooks River and the locations of all of the various bear cams that we have. So the Brooks Falls is kind of in the middle left of your screen there. Sits about halfway along the river. The Brooks Falls camera is the most popular camera on Explore.org. It looks at the falls and sometimes downstream. This yellow polygon is the direction that the camera can see. It's only positioned to give you... Oh, I'm so sorry. We also have the Brooks Falls low cam, which is also located at the falls, but it's positioned a little bit lower to give you a bear's eye view of the water from the riverbank. About 100 yards downstream of the falls is the Riffles cam, which looks across and upriver towards the falls. The area highlighted in white is the Riffle cam's line of sight. Downstream, near the mouth of the river, we have 3 different cameras along the bridge in Brooks Camp. The Riverwatch camera is mounted to the bridge, and it allows us to see upstream from the bridge across the slower moving areas, the meandering places around Brooks River, and its line of sight is in green. Our underwater camera is mounted to a piling on the bridge looking downstream. This camera is special because we get to see many fish and occasional swimming bear. Cat's River View is the other camera that is on the bridge. It's on the south side of the bridge. It's named in honor of the late Catherine Green, who was Explore.org's lead camera operator for many years. Cat's River View does change throughout the year, but right now it looks across the river mouth and towards Naknek Lake, as we see outlined in purple. In total, the combination of all the cams at Brooks River gives us the chance to watch bears throughout most of the river from Brooks Falls down to Naknek Lake. Finally, the Dumpling Mountain cam is perched about 2,200 feet above sea level and is about 2.8 miles from Brooks Falls as the crow flies. It offers panoramic views of the surrounding mountains and lakes. Right now we're looking at Brooks Lake. We'll see the head of Brooks River come into view, and the rest of Brooks River flowing into Naknek Lake at the far side, the far left-hand side of your screen. Getting back to the cameras, we do have a bear on the falls high. We were talking earlier, Christine and Ashley, how the 3 of us are not super experienced with our bear ID, even though we've been here for a while already. But whoever this bear is, sitting in the far pool of the far pool near the falls there. This bear is looking like it's shedding pretty much. Have you 2 seen this bear around camp at all?
I saw it at the falls the other day, the fall, and I did not know who the bear was. But
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
have
it was in
to
the same spot.
tune into the hike.
It was actually the same spot, Sarah.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, I thought, yeah. So
Oh, this is
this
856.
is
Why am I so silly?
is this my footage that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, it is 856.
Yeah,
I don't know why his shed pattern looks so different to me, but I thought this was a different bear for a second. I was like, wow, he looks kind of
okay.
scraggly. But so yeah, we have been seeing 856 all over the place. This kind of
Yeah, I
far
will say,
pool is not. Go ahead, Ashley.
I was just gonna say the shed pattern on his face looks a little different than when he first came out, maybe about a month ago or a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I didn't recognize him either.
Yeah, seeing him fish in the far pool is different to me too. I'm used to him being a jacuzzi bear, but the salmon is just so thick in the river. We can see so many of them that it must just be easier to fish along those shallower areas than sit in the jacuzzi. We've been seeing a lot of bear activity down on the lower river. Maybe we can pop over to Cat's River View to take a look at the bear in view there. So in the lower river, it's a little bit easier to catch fish, and we've been seeing quite a lot of activity down there. What have you guys been seeing down there today?
Well, on the way to work, saw two bears along the shore, one in the water south, one in the water north, and another one upstream. It was really interesting. They were just walking around and swimming around, I should say, looking for more fish. So yeah, you're right about that. It's a prime fishing spot this year, and so they're happy. And oh, there's a fish right there. So yeah, they're happy and they're just making use of it. Wow. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, like Christine said, we showed up to work together today. There were there's bears in the river and two sort of play fighting in the grass as well.
They were so cute.
And I think that's a good transition into bringing up the fact that there have been so much bear activity in the lower river that we have been unable to clean the underwater camera. So for folks who don't know, this time of year when the channel is really deep, we cannot get into the river in waders. We have to get in by a canoe. And with all the bear activity going on, it has been so hard to get a canoe in there to clean it. So apologies to camera viewers, but we are trying to clean that camera as soon as we can.
Yeah, definitely. It gets pretty gunky throughout the season, but plants and algae like this being able to grow is a sign of a healthy river. So not only all of these salmon coming up, but also that there's enough oxygen, enough sunlight for plants to grow. Unfortunately, they are on our lens to the underwater world of Brooks River, but signs of river health.
Good signs.
Yeah. We can see this bear kind of snorkeling and a bunch of salmon porpoising um, along the river mouth. There was a question that came in from. Sorry, I was just trying to find it. I might have deleted it, but somebody had asked, how are humans catching so many salmon with a pole when the fish are no longer eating when they enter the river. So I don't know, Ashley and Christine, if you've had a chance to go out and fish for salmon, but the technique is called flossing. So just like when you're flossing your teeth, you're trying to get the fishing line through the mouths of these salmon, and you're just kind of snagging them at that point because they're not eating. Have either of you had any experience salmon fishing yet this year?
I went fishing for the very first time. Yay. With Ethan. And I was so excited because I've never been fishing before. So it was a super fun event. And we went up and down the river corridor. Ethan's one of our local guides, by the way. And we saw bears everywhere. And apparently, caught 2 sockeye. Never caught a fish before. So
Oh,
that was exciting. Yeah. So that, I mean, not catching a fish, but going from a big fish. It was a big fish, you know. So that was super exciting. And I don't know a lot about fly fishing except for what I learned that day, but it is really fun. If anybody comes here, definitely sign up for a tour to go along the river and fish. Because even for someone like me who's never done it before, I was very, very excited just to be out there. Yeah, definitely a great experience to see them all around. I've never seen so many fish, and it was exciting. I don't know, like I say, I'm a beginner, so bear with me, but I do want to go out again. How
there with
about
you.
you, Ashley?
That's Christine, that's a good point though. You kind of went before the bears really showed up. You kind of went earlier in June, when
Yeah,
it wasn't so
yeah,
beary out there. Yeah, this time
yeah.
of year it's a little bit harder with so many bears.
Yeah. It's very very.
Looks like it might be 32 on our river watch cam.
Oh,
Let's take a look and see. Oh man, he's definitely got a meal. So we saw 856 up at the falls camera earlier and 32 here now. It's really interesting to see some of these more dominant bears hanging out in the lower river. And I do think that's really just due to the amount of fish and how much easier it is to fish in the lower river right now than it is up at the falls.
oh yeah, that is bear 32. Uh-huh.
Yeah, actually, we had some concerns earlier in the season about how he would be able to survive, but from afar, it looks like he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it looks like he's figured out a way to um, eat fish, catch fish, despite his jaw injury there. Um, bears are super resilient, and I was talking to a lot of people when he first showed up with a visible jaw injury, and people were asking me, how is he going to survive this? But we've seen bears survive with these sort of injuries before, as we've said in previous live chats and play-by-plays. And it looks like he's a strong, dominant, and stubborn bear, and he found a way to eat fish and to keep on going. We didn't see him around for about 2 weeks. He could have still been here, of course, but it just happened that no one saw him. And who knows? Maybe he took a good little rest and healed up a little bit, and he came back ready to fish. And as we can see here, he's making it work.
Yeah, last year, 32 is at the top of the hierarchy, Christine, and we've kind of been watching the hierarchy shift along the river. You mentioned this in your live chat last night, but for the folks who maybe weren't able to join us, what is the hierarchy looking like right now with this bear?
Well, for me, this is the first time I've really seen 32 at this area. It's been
Mm.
mostly the subadults down there in the this particular area. So wow, this is kind of cool. We'll see how this plays out. You know, I wonder if the subadults will be whoa. 32 is back in town. Maybe we should go elsewhere. But there's, as you can see in the background, there's plenty of fish. So yeah, the hierarchy looks like it's just moved to a different area. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not at the falls. It's just
Yeah.
down at the Riverwatch area. So it's now in this area, which is more spread out, but there's definitely a hierarchy. You could tell. Very interesting.
Yeah. Lily asked, since there's so much salmon this year, is the hierarchy less significant? And what you had just mentioned, Christine, is that it's just in a different place where we're not seeing it play out at the falls this year, but more downriver. But actually, it's really interesting to see what I would consider the two most dominant bears on the river, 32 in one area and 856 much further upstream at the falls. So seeing them not having to vie for hierarchy at this moment is really interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think we did have potentially a clip of 856 and 32 getting into a little kerfuffle the other day.
Hmm.
Well, if we can maybe play
Yeah,
that.
it looked like, yeah, 856 is here walking in the water, and 32 is on the spit road. And we'll see them kind of get into it here in just a moment. These two bears weren't even interacting with each other at first, but here we kind of see them playing out their dominance.
Yeah, and I think Christine and Naomi mentioned this in their live chat last night. Um, that this fight occurred. But I think some context that's helpful is that 856 was seen maybe trying to court a female bear before all this happened. And sometimes when male bears are in that sort of courting headspace, they really don't want other males or other bears in general around. So for 32 Chunk to be following him like that during this moment in time, I think both those bears were just not having it.
Definitely.
Notice
This
that
happened
it was
really kind of early in the morning.
hmm.
Early in the morning, about 8:30 or so, before the bus took off for the Valley tour, and Ranger Mo was actually in the area and was able to provide us some more context. Because when you just look at the video, it looks like 856 is just kind of going after 32 for maybe no reason. But Mo provided us this context. Guessing it was all on camera as 856 followed a female down Spit Road to the bridge. They went in the river, meaning 856 and the female. They got fish, and the female was going back to the road where the bus parked, but 32 came down the Spit Road, trailing them, and then got into it right in front of the camera. So, as Lily had asked earlier, since there's so much salmon, is the hierarchy less significant? It's still definitely playing a role with these bears. We're just kind of seeing it in play out in different ways instead of vying for those fishing spots at the falls. Because there's such access to fish, they're showing their dominance in other ways. Christine, I think I might have cut you off, but did you have something to add?
No, I was just sorry, I butt in as
That's
combination.
okay.
I was just stating that the female is you can't see the female in this particular angle of the clip. Maybe she just scattled on. So it looks like they both kind of lost out.
Yeah.
You know? that was my only observation. Of course, Mo would probably have more to
Yeah,
say because he was actually there. Yeah.
definitely. So this was a couple of days ago along what we call the Spit Road, and it looks like actually now there's a couple of subadults along the Spit Road. It looks like maybe there's four on Cat's Riverview. Um,
Huh? Oh
so we
wow.
just saw some some of like the big dominant
Really?
bears kind of tussling. But what are some observations that you guys have seen of how subadults interact with each other?
I've been seeing a lot of play fighting, lots of kind of like what we're seeing here in this image, just a lot of swinging heads and very playful behavior. I've seen a few, catch fish and sort of just throw them up in the air. Um, Lots of best word I can use is some tomfoolery, which I think is what we're seeing here on.
Oh my goodness. So cute.
Yeah, we often see these subadults kind of forming what can sometimes be called a gang. Just this kind of gaggle of these young bears who are still figuring it out. Um, participating in all of those behaviors, like you said. Um, yeah, trying to find another bear on screen. It looks like there might be one in the riffles.
Ah.
And it's really different fishing techniques depending on where the bears are in the river. I know at the falls you can kind of like sit and wait for the fish. That's maybe what this bear is doing. But with all of those salmon coming up river, it shouldn't be too difficult for these bears to use different fishing techniques. Ashley, what would you, if you were a bear, how would you fish in the riffles?
That's a really fun question. I love the sort of snorkeling that they do. I think it looks like a lot of fun. I don't know if it is fun for the bears, but I think the combination of swimming around the river and grabbing a fish seems like a really fun combo. I don't know if I would be brave enough to get on the lip of the falls or anything like that, but maybe in my bear alter ego, I could be brave enough to do that. So, Christine, what about you?
Oh, wow. Well, I like football, so I like the way they tackle it like a football. they grab the fish and they tackle it like a football going for the touchdown. So that's always cool. I feel like they should have little, uniforms on almost. So I've been enjoying that, especially, by the lower river. It's just been so fun to watch. And each bear has its own style. Wow.
Yeah, just saw my favorite, the dash and grab.
Yeah, the dash
I feel like I love watching the bears do the dash and grab. It's so fun. I don't know how successful some bears are at it, because it seems like the salmon swim away pretty quickly, but we've definitely seen some bears be successful at that technique.
This bear is in paradise.
I'm mesmerized. I know. Whole place to himself. He's got 856 over in the corner, but yeah, being able to like just sit and not have to worry about anything else going around you. Actually, we had a question come in too from Emily that says, "Are brown bears considered the apex predator in Katmai?" I have a couple of thoughts on this, but I want to hear from the two of you.
I might have to collect my thoughts on this one, but
Okay.
Christine, do you have any thoughts immediately on this one?
I don't know. I would say they would be, because we don't really, in this particular area, we don't see the wolves or other animals. So if we're talking about this area, yes. The whole park, I don't know, but this area, I would say yes.
I kind of struggle with those similar thoughts where, yeah, the bears, they don't have anything predating on them, which is definitely a sign of being an apex predator. But the thing that was kind of stopping me from saying, like, going all in on yes, brown bears are considered the apex predator is, like you mentioned, Christine, the wolves. And we have seen some wolves at Brooks River before, but they're certainly not as large as the bears. And we don't see them interacting or tussling for any sort of apex position. So I'm hesitant to say in the Katmai area, because I'm not sure how bears and wolves interact in other areas, but I think you're right, Christine, where on this river in particular, brown bears are at the top.
Doesn't Mike have a photograph or a video of a wolf at the falls?
Yes, there is definitely a video of the wolf at the falls. We share that in many programs, so I'm sure we'll be sharing that down the line soon as well. But it's always really exciting to see an animal other than a bear at the falls. Yeah,
that would be really exciting to see. Very exciting.
Yeah, salmon feed everything. I was just wondering that.
Yeah, like I wonder if they catch fish there, especially at nighttime. Huh. Thought. Has anybody ever seen
Yeah.
lynx there?
I have seen a lynx down in the lower river. Um, and what's interesting, it was actually going after some merganser chicks. It wasn't even going after the salmon. But I don't know that anybody's seen one up at the falls. Ashley, you've seen some lynx this season, though.
I have. Most of my sightings have been out in the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, along that road a lot, and also by Lake Brooks.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if they're hanging out by Lake Brooks, they may maybe use the upper river more. And maybe we're just not seeing them on the lower river because of the bear activity. Um, that would be my guess, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe
The
they just
bears,
don't like.
Yeah.
the idea of a bear as an apex predator definitely comes into play there, where if there's too many of them around, that nothing else is really going to come through.
Oh, yeah.
Um, just heard from our producer that we do have that wolf clip, so yeah, we can go ahead and take a look at that. So we've got a bear on the lip of the falls here, and then the wolf over in the far side. Um, so yeah, they're definitely here. But as far as the apex predator goes, I do think it might be the bear.
Yeah, my thoughts were
Oh, and here's the
conflicted on
wolf.
that question as well because there really are so many predators here competing for space and competing for food. Um, but yeah, the bears really do rank supreme in a lot of cases, I think.
Yeah.
Though I
And
imagine
they can be successful at catching fish.
That's really cool.
if these wolves were around while visitors could be at the platform, I imagine that could have been the best day ever for those visitors.
Jackpot
Definitely.
day. Uh-huh.
I'd be like, okay, I can leave now. I'm good.
Heading back down to Cat's Riverview, I think those subadults are back. Um, and we had another question come in from Jenny that says, I noticed that 803 gives her yearlings a lot more freedom to roam and play than, say, 26 gives to her kois. Is this an example of different parenting styles, or do most mother bears ease up once their cubs are a year old? And I did want to pull this in with the subadults because the subadults are still very young. And I think that 803 would probably give more freedom to a yearling than they would a cub just because the cubs are so inexperienced. And then as they grow, like these yearlings, they still need some other bears around them, whether that's a sow or some other subadults to kind of boost their confidence a little bit. Um, what have you all noticed out there with the yearlings versus the kois and how these different sows parent?
I think the yearlings do like to show a little bit more independence. They do wander a little further away from their mothers. Just looking at 128's yearling, it's, they kind of want to go out and do their own thing or at least experiment a little bit. I don't know. Um, that's a good question. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I've been seeing pretty much the same observations. Um, a lot of the bears here with spring cubs, like 26, 171, they tree their cubs, and I've yet to see a lot of that action with yearlings. It still happens, but I do see spring cubs being treated a bit more than the yearlings, at least so far. So that could also be a sign that mother bears could be more cautious with those spring cubs. But I do think that it does depend on the mother bear and their quote unquote parenting style as well.
Yeah. We do have a clip of 26 from a couple of days ago with her springers um, down in the lower river here. So I feel like this is just a classic image of a bear with cubs. So I love watching it. But yeah, you can see that she's definitely keeping her cubs pretty close. And the lower river area, I've always thought of it as a nursery for these young cubs or these sows with cubs. And having these big dominant boars in the area, um, I can't tell on River Watch if that bear is still 32. It doesn't look like it. Um, but yeah, just having these all these male bears down in what I consider the nursery is really interesting. Um, Ashley, Christine, have you guys been seeing, where are you mostly seeing these family groups?
I've been seeing them down at the Little River, and today, just right before this program, they were down in the Little River, not too far from where the planes take off in that general area.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was 26 out there with her springers. And yeah, it was really, it was on my coffee break. It was really interesting to just watch that. It was so cool. And that's where I've been seeing most of the activity. And you'll hear it on the radio too, that she'll be walking up and down the beach, even with the planes there, up and down the beach, over to the campground, back towards the lodge, over to the campground, back to the lodge. Sometimes she'll tree her little ones, sometimes not. But yeah, that's where I've heard and seen most of the activity. How about you, Ashley?
Yeah, same. I also saw, I think it was 26, down in that area where we showed the clip of them down there. I've seen them there a lot. And same with 171 with her spring cubs, in that lower river area and the grassy area. Um, some of the moms with yearlings I've seen go closer to the falls. So maybe they're feeling a bit more confident with their second year cubs going up there. Um, but yeah, I've seen a lot of activity, like Christine said, along the beach in the lower river.
Yeah, and when sows do have their cubs down in the lower river, when a male comes into play or they get too close, we definitely see sows and cubs getting a little skittish. Um, we do have a clip of 803 and 307 interacting. And Alexandria asked yesterday, 307 approached 803 and her young cub. When she displayed acts to get him to go away, he kept inching closer. Is it because he felt more dominant? She had to run him off twice. So let's just kind of see how this plays out with 307 sitting here with her yearling cub. I'm sorry, with 803 and her yearling cubs, and when 307 kind of starts to approach. Yeah, you can see them getting curious. She's kind of jaw popping here.
Uh-huh.
The cubs standing up on their hind legs, just kind of looking to see, what does mom see? What's going on? Definitely some distress signals. So yeah, what do you guys think? She's displaying acts to get him to go away, but looks like he keeps getting closer. Um, and what are some reasons that this male bear may be approaching a sow with cubs? He looks pretty young, but
Hmm. He definitely looks curious, that's for sure. I don't know. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, it could be, um, maybe he wants to fish in that area and he doesn't really want other bears hanging around. Um, it could be a competition thing. Um,
Yeah, this is a good clip of interaction. He is pretty close, though. You could tell. Oh, Ooh.
What are you thinking, Sarah?
I like that last part. Mom chased him away.
Yeah, it's awesome to see her charge. Yeah, I don't know if this bear was feeling dominant or if he was just trying to get somewhere. But yeah, she does have to run him off a couple of times, and I mean, we can't know why bears are doing what they're doing, but that family group just kind of hanging out on the spit road and kind of making this blockade where other bears can't get past. Um, I wonder if he was trying to show dominance towards this female bear with older cubs, or if he was just trying to get somewhere with them in their way. It's hard to tell.
It is. I mean, there's so many other areas to go fish, so why is he there? It's weird.
Yeah, good question.
I think you're right on the dominance, though. I mean, he's probably just trying to flex his muscles to show, you know, he has some strength and power. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see, especially with older cubs, the sow having what look like yearlings or even 2-year-olds. You guys can correct me in the comments if they're yearlings or 2-year-olds, but yeah, having a sow interact with what seems like a less dominant bear, 307. It's interesting that he would approach an older female with these cubs. I don't usually see that.
Yeah. Sarah, is it more common with the springers, correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Typically to like send the female back into estrus or show dominance or spread its own genes, whatever it is. Typically see it with the cubs. Getting back to live action, it does look like on Cat's River View, we might actually get a chance to see 26 and her spring cubs moving through the thicket there, right where you said that they were hanging out, Christine.
They seem to like that area. It's good fishing for mom.
Yeah, right around the corner too, where we can kind of see these two little guys, is a really well. Maybe the river's gotten higher. I know in the beginning of the season that area was definitely pretty dry. The water hadn't come up too much, but I think I have to rethink my statement. I was going to say that there's a pretty big area for the cubs to run around while the sow fishes. But you guys can correct me. Is the river much higher, or the lake levels much higher than it was when I was out there?
Yeah, it is definitely higher. A lot of that exposed land over there isn't as exposed anymore or exposed at all. But likely still, I mean, it seemed like watching the cubs walk through that area before, it seems low enough still for them to walk, but they were stumbling a little bit.
Yeah. As cubs are wont to do. All right. We can see another bear up at the riffles. Let's check out and see what he's doing. Oh, we've got 2 bears here and a gull eating some salmon scraps in the middle as well. Yeah, can't tell who these 2 are, but certainly not uncomfortable with each other if they're allowing each other in each other's bubble.
Uh-huh. Everything's so lush and green right now too. It's just absolutely stunning. This whole area is just beautiful at the moment.
Yeah, this time of year is just, yeah, you're right. It's stunning. That is the word for it. All of the wildflowers up. We can see some of the yarrow and some of the fireweed starting to bloom, kind of right in the center of the camera here.
Yes, it does make it amazing to watch with the yarrow and fireweed coming out. And it's just stunning.
I love to see
Yeah.
how the bears sort of help out the gulls when they pull apart a fish and then leave a bunch behind. The gulls, since they don't have a sharp, like very sharp beaks, the bears doing that work in the beginning to tear the fish apart helps them a lot to get into that fish and eat the parts that they want to eat. So I love to see the bears and the birds kind of working together.
Yeah, all these different symbiotic relationships. I mean, the bear eating the salmon, feeding the scraps to the gulls, and then, all of this lush green is also due to the salmon being spread through the bears, through the birds, through scat, those salmon nutrients giving a great opportunity for these plants to grow really lush. So it's symbiotic, except for maybe the fish. They might not be so happy about it.
Circle of life. So unique.
Oh, yeah. For those of you just joining us, we're a little over halfway through our program, and we are on the Brooks River looking at brown bears and salmon and how they're all interacting with each other. The past couple of days, though, there has been a bear at the falls that has kind of stumped folks of who this bear is and where they came from, and it looks like it may have a little bit of an injury. So this new bear, we can see them up at the lip of the falls here. Um, and I don't know that anybody has identified this bear yet. I don't know if the bear monitor has seen this bear in previous years and has maybe assigned a number to it. Or I'm sorry, it's the bear coming into view right now. Um, and this bear obviously has a disability in its hips or its pelvis. We are unsure of how that disability came. It could be from birth, it could be from any sort of accidents or fights that it got into as it was growing up. Ashley, Christine, have you guys seen this bear around at all?
I saw it 2 days ago at the falls, walking around. So I think that night there was about 4 bears there. There was the one in the jacuzzi. There wasn't one on the lip at the time. That particular bear and a couple downstream. And I remember seeing that bear. I don't know what the bear is, who the bear is, but I remember watching. What day is this, by the way, Sarah?
Oh gosh,
Does it say?
it was the 12th, so July 12th, 5 days ago. 5 days ago, early morning. But yeah, when he walks past the camera there, you can definitely see some deformities in the hips, the pelvis, and he doesn't look as. I don't want to say that he's not as healthy as the other bears, but he certainly doesn't have the same gait. It's definitely an impairment. It looks like he's pretty well fed, though, Ashley. It doesn't seem like whatever disability this bear has is impeding its ability to fish.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't seen this bear yet myself, but like I was saying before, I have seen so many bears already adapt to circumstances where we wouldn't um, think like, oh, they'll definitely survive this. But we've seen it, and I think this bear is just another example of, well, maybe he does have something going on with his hips or his pelvic bones, but he's still fishing. He's still going right up to the falls and doing what bears do. So, yeah, it's incredible to see that.
Yeah, the bears are very, very resilient. Um, Normally, bears get their number from the bear monitor, who will assign the bears a number once they have survived into subadult or adulthood. So the cubs don't get numbered. And the bear monitor has to see the bear in 3 separate monitoring sessions. So I don't know if Tammy has seen this bear 3 separate times during her monitoring sessions yet or not. And we also don't know if she's maybe seen this bear before. Potentially, it already has a number, but we certainly haven't seen it along the Brooks River in the past couple of years. If it has been, it's been out of camera view. Um, but there's a lot of bears that return to the Brooks River every year. There's some that don't return. There's cubs that maybe don't return every year or have gone other places to fish. So maybe it is the first time this bear is coming to the Brooks River, and trying to insert itself into the hierarchy.
Huh.
But he does look like he will survive.
Yeah.
Sarah, in your time with the park, have there been quite a few bears that you've either seen like leave the river for extended period of time, or bears that just randomly come into play like this one?
That is a good question. I'm trying to think of. I've definitely seen bears not come back, and whether that's due to like natural causes of death or maybe they found another river. Naomi has often mentioned that it's the changing of the guard here on the river, where some of the bears that we're all very familiar with are no longer coming back. And we can actually switch to 856 eating in the river instead of watching this poor bear back and forth. But yeah, I've definitely seen some bears not return. Um, I think though, eight. I'm gonna get Divot's number wrong. 854 Divot. She had been on the river for a number of years, and somebody's gonna tell me that I'm incorrect in the comments, but I don't remember seeing her in 2020 or maybe it was 2021, and then she came back the next year. She had cubs one year, and then we didn't see her the second year with her cubs, but then we saw her the year after. So there's definitely some that'll come and go. Um, I've seen bears come all the way down to King Salmon area um, in the middle of the season after being up at Brooks and then heading back up to Brooks after being on the Naknek River for a while. So um, we can't predict what bears do, but we sure do love watching them.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are wild animals that do what they like. Yeah.
856 has been here for the better part of an hour here. I don't know if anybody has been able to see how much fish he has been eating, but I'm sure it's a lot. That far side of that far pool across from the viewing platform, we've definitely seen multiple different bears there exhibiting the same technique of sit and wait and eat the salmon that is coming to you.
This morning, I got to see a bear grab a fish and then just sit with the fish in its mouth. Like he was like, oh, okay, I'm not hungry yet, but I'm gonna be. So I'm just gonna hold on to this for later. I don't know if that's his fishing technique or
It's something, yeah. I don't know that. I think at this point in time, the bears are definitely getting the cue that, like, yes, you are full. You don't need to continue eating. But I wonder how much instinct they have to just keep grabbing fish. Um, Look at all those salmon that are just these carcasses lining the riverbank.
Yep.
That bear that just walked through just kind of sniffed around and left, not even interested.
Yeah. Well, it was a fresh one.
Yeah, it's wild to
many
see
of
all of those.
I know.
When you walk over the bridge, are you seeing a lot of dead salmon just kind of hanging out in the river under the bridge as well, or have they kind of washed into the lake yet?
there's still a lot in the river.
Uh-huh.
The
I
dead
was fishing
salmon?
a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, yeah. I was fishing a couple weeks ago and I looked down and there was just a fish carcass like at my feet. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. But yeah, there's good piles of them in the river still.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
quite a
It's
few.
so
I really
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. My least favorite thing of working out in Brooks Camp, especially this time of year, is when the bears get their fish and then they just kind of crunch into the head of the salmon.
Yeah,
That gives me the heebie-jeebies.
yeah, I saw that last night. It was intense. And everybody was commenting because you could see this bear and hear this bear taking a bite of the fish. Sounds like a potato chip, like crunch, crunch, crunch. And then it ate the fish like finger licking good style,
Oh my
like KFC,
gosh.
like that. It was so hilarious. Oh wow! You just don't know what they're gonna do. But yeah, that sound is something else. It's
Yeah.
one thing to see it, but to hear it, that's something that you know is really special.
And
Something
it's
you don't
funny too, because
expect either.
Yeah.
I feel like when a bear does that, like everyone goes quiet at the same time. So it's
Mm.
like
Mhm.
it's almost echoing. Like it is so loud and you don't expect to hear that crunch of bone, but then everyone's all of a sudden like, oh my God.
I echo that.
Yeah.
I mean, people just talk among each other and realize that they really do mean business when they're
Yeah.
hungry. Wow.
The three of us were talking earlier about how the view at the falls, especially when there's no bears there, it's like, is this just a replay of the same thing that happened yesterday? Because there's just so many fish going over that waterfall. There's so many fish in the river. I actually just took a look at the run for, excuse me, the salmon run so far this year. And looking at the dates, the updated data for the 16th, so yesterday, it looks like almost a million fish just in the Naknek River, which is, I think, definitely more than expected. And looking at the river and seeing these bears so well fed, it's almost like, man, half of that must be going up the brooks.
That's amazing. With your expertise, Sarah, have you ever seen anything like this before since you've been here before?
When I was there in 2019, I want to say the total run for Bristol Bay, so including all of the different tributaries, I think it was somewhere around like 67 million or 72 million fish within the whole run for the whole season. And it's looking right now, the total run for all of Bristol Bay is 52 million. So it's about on par with what I saw about 6 years ago. Um, and saying these numbers, whether it's almost a million fish just in the Naknek River or 52 million in the entirety of Bristol Bay, imagining those numbers and actually seeing them are very different. It's incredible to be able to see so many fish in the Brooks River. And yeah, I do remember that year there wasn't a ton of action up at the falls that year either. There was definitely more action at the falls that year than there has been this year. Um, but I have seen the river fully stocked with salmon. Um, yeah, just being able to see that and witness this is really amazing. We have a few minutes left until we wrap up, and I am content watching 856 eat salmon all day long. But let's take a peek down at River Watch. I think this might be 32 back. I can't really tell, so I'm sure somebody will be able to tell me. Um, can't I think it is. You guys see his little scar and his tooth jutting out?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're correct. Yeah.
I was worried about my bear ID for today. Started off a little weak, but we're getting there. But yeah, to be able to see this boar just kind of sitting in the middle of the river, being so dominant, not having to compete with anything, and just take a nap. Oh, to be a bear.
Looks like a good life right there.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
We did hear
as
some,
we kind of, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say we heard some loons this morning on the river as well. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, that is incredible. I only ever hear loons at the lake, so I can't tell what these are. It doesn't look like a merganser. Looks a little small to be a loon. Um, Maybe it's a male merganser. I can't tell.
We heard them
Either
from the
way,
bridge,
so
so
much
maybe they
wildlife.
could come into the lake.
Either way, I mean, loons are incredible to hear. Um, yeah,
Definitely exciting. Oh, there's another bear back there. Is that a bear?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. I think this camera may be as zoomed in as it can go. So I don't know if we'll be able to see or identify that bear. But it is nice that we've actually had some bear action. I'm always worried that before we hop on a play-by-play, we'll see a lot of bears, and then as soon as we start, they all disappear. But it's been nice to kind of have them here today. Before we go, Ashley and Christine, I did want to thank you for taking the time today to chat with me, chat with all of us about bears. Is there anything you want people to know about the Brooks River and what is happening on the Brooks River now? Anything that you are excited about, anticipating to see? Um, what do we want to tell the people about the current happenings along Brooks River?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see more bear activity as we get into the meat of July and continue into August. Um, I hope more show up at the falls, but at the same time, I think it's good for folks to know that even though the bears aren't at the falls, there's still so many bears here. So have no fear, no worries. The bears are here. Um, they're just not at the falls. But the good news is there's salmon everywhere. So the bears are here and they have salmon to eat.
I'm thankful for the salmon because without the salmon, we wouldn't even have this whole, event going on. So this has been a really pleasure to watch the bears and the salmon both, and how all the animals, the birds, the bears, all interact with this amazing tsunami presentation of the salmon going on this year. So yeah, that's what I'm thankful for. And every day when I go out to the river or the falls, I just see a different view and a different play of life every day, and it's just so beautiful and so amazing. So keep watching because you never know what you're going to see. Thank you.
Absolutely. You definitely never know what's going to happen at the Brooks River, but it is exciting to have the opportunity to watch these bears in their natural habitat, watching natural systems play out between all of the animals involved and along the Brooks River. Thank you both so much for that sentiment. I'll thank both of my co-hosts again, Ashley Monaco and Christine Loberg, for joining me. My name is Sarah Bruce. I'm also a park ranger at Katmai National Park. And thank you all for joining us for the past hour. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sarah.
everyone.
It's been really fun. Until we see you again.